Welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I'm Greg Rand, your host on 77 WABC, broadcasting from the Small Business Authority studio. Our number here is 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. My website is OwnAmerica.com because you can own a piece of America. It's the best investment anybody ever made. And we're here with Dan Schaffer, and we're going to go back to him in a second because I want him to hang around the studio. We got some calls holding. I don't want to leave you guys waiting too long. So, Tony from the Bronx. How are you, Tony?
Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Yes, good. I've been looking to buy commercial property now for about 3-4 months in the Bronx, and, I don't see anything that's really come down in price.
Now, what kind of commercial property are you thinking about? Office space, retail space? What do you have in mind?
Actually, warehouse space. We're looking for about 20,000 square feet, and I've been finding that prices have kind of stayed where they've been for the past couple of years. Yeah,
it's interesting. Warehouse of all things, warehouses... They're fairly abundant, but when you're talking about inside the circle of the metro area, when you can get into New York that easily, they become pretty much of a premium. Now, are you going to use the property in your business, Tony?
Yes, I'm going to be using it for my business, about half the building, about 10,000 square feet, and I'm looking to rent out the rest.
That's a great plan, by the way. That's like a two-family house, right? You live in one half and you rent out the other. I like the plan. If you've been looking for a couple of months, you want to stay near the Bronx, right? You don't want to go out to the other boroughs or go into Lower Westchester, Yonkers, something like that?
No, because I need easy on, easy off for Harlem, Queens. We have stores in the Bronx where we repair consumer electronics.
Okay,
and we're looking to open up more stores in Harlem and in Queens.
Yeah, so I think
finding that 20,000 square feet is almost $2 million.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I ran a commercial real estate company up in the suburbs for a lot of years, and we crossed over into the boroughs a little bit. And warehouses that you would think, warehouses are the lowest price per square foot that you could rent out, right? They're the lowest use, okay? They're the lowest use, and you're talking about Manhattan or the five boroughs. Keep searching around. I think if you kept looking in another 3 or 4 months from now, you found that was basically the thing, is that the supply of warehouses of that size in your area are just limited enough that you're not going to be able to do it any cheaper than that. The market's speaking to you. Your plan is great because being able to occupy it, you do that for your business, and then you just blink your eyes, and 10 years goes by, and now you've built so much equity in the place, and the person renting out the other half is paying it off for you. If the marketplace is commanding a premium, there's a reason for that. And if you were going to rent it out completely, I would tell you to rethink it and maybe go elsewhere. But if you're going to use it, it's so much better to be able to own the building that you operate your business out of because you're going to be there. I mean, how long have you been in business so far? You've been in business a long time?
We've been in business for almost 15 years now.
Okay, and you don't expect this to be a short-term thing, right?
No, I mean, everybody, people can't buy these new iPhones anymore, so we fix them. That's what we do.
Brilliant. I love stories like that. People, they break their iPhones and you guys repair them. Well, I'll tell you what, so keep looking, keep scratching. Do you have a broker who's doing a lot of bird dogging for you, really working hard for you?
Not. Well, we did have one guy, but he really can't find anything for us.
All right, do me a favor. If you're interested in having somebody else go do some scouting for you, before we're done, give your phone number to the call screener, and I'll get somebody in touch with you if you're interested, because commercial brokers are junkyard dogs, man. In a situation like this, they start banging on doors. People who didn't know they wanted to sell, all of a sudden find out somebody's buying, and you turn something up that nobody else even knew about. That's the way to go about it.
Okay, good.
All right, thanks, Tony, for the call. Thank you very much. Anybody else on hold, just stick around. We're going to get to you in a moment, but we're going to go back over to Dan Schaffer, CPA, non-practicing CPA, money manager, Fox Business regular guest there. Actually, you're going to be co-hosting a show on April 1st from 12 to 1, which is a big jump forward. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
He's got a face for TV. I got a face for radio.
Not true. Kinds, not true, Greg, at all.
Takes all kinds. So we talked about real estate. Now let's talk about cycles. I was fascinated in your book, Profiting from Economic Storms, because in my book, I went back to the 1980s, the 1970s, and the Great Depression. You went back further. And what you found is that...
A lot further.
Yeah, a lot. So tell us some of those historical situations.
Well, I mean, I've even gone back to the ancient Egyptians, ancient Roman Empire, and the ancient Greeks, but just over the several hundred years of the United States history. And people need to realize that the United States is not an old country. We've only been around 250, 300 years. Right. But back in the 1812, 1816 period, there was the Napoleonic Wars, which destroyed agricultural land in Europe. and land started to boom here in the United States, and the banks went crazy, just like they did here in 2004, 5, and 6. And they were lending money to everybody, and they leveraged up, and property values tripled. And there was the big panic of 1819. Back then, the banking system, it was the second bank of America, of the United States. They were allowed to call loans. So if you owned property and the bank knocked on your door, they say, we want our money back. You had to give them their money back. So property values plummeted. And that is really, in historical terms, considered the first real estate panic in the United States.
So the banks lent money like crazy and then started calling it back like crazy and caused the crash.
Right. Now, does that sound familiar a little bit here?
Yeah.
History repeating itself? Exactly. That's exactly what's happened. And it's happened multiple times since then. And then there are these other cycles that take place. There's the 40-year cycle. There's a 70-year cycle. There's a 35-year cycle. And that cycle that we follow, which is a 40-year cycle, is due right here for a market low. And we're not just a stock market low, but a real estate market low, because over the last 10 to 15 years, mostly all asset classes rose at the same time.
Right.
Treasuries rose, stock market rose, real estate rose, everything rose. So now you have them also working together, that they're all declining at the same time. And the issue with the dollar getting weaker, which I believe is going to get stronger, people are going to start selling more assets to raise cash. Commercial real estate, we've already seen the housing market real estate, but commercial real estate, your caller, Tony, just be patient, because the properties will all of a sudden start to show up, and you need to be ready.
So your point is that we're still approaching an overall economic low, and when people have a demand for cash, they start unloading assets for whatever they can get them for.
Exactly. Cash is going to be king. If we realize this, I'm on the opposite side of this conversation about a weakening dollar. That's a political issue, and I don't want to get into that with this show. But as debt defaults all over the world in U.S. dollars, there's actually a shortage of dollars. So people who even still own hard assets in real estate are still going to need money. And they will start selling properties. I know properties here in Manhattan. A gentleman owned 5 properties. He had a balloon loan on one of them, and he had to sell his gem property just to cover the properties that were not as good. And it was a really great opportunity for one of the REITs to take advantage of. So, you got to be ready for the cycle. We're in that cycle now. We're coming into the low. Don't try to pick the bottom. You'll miss it. You can never pick the bottom, never pick the top. If you get 80% of the move, you're in good shape.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've made a career of studying successful real estate investors. And what I found is that they never try to time it perfectly. Okay, they never try to. If, the people that I know who are really wealthy with real estate investing, they were unloading in 2004 and 2005. They were getting out of the market back then. And the signals they saw were the speculators, the spoilers, the people that come running into a market, don't have the skills, don't have the know-how, have banks behind them giving them more money than they should. And that causes those guys, it's the old saying from Warren Buffett, right? When others getting greedy, I get fearful. So those guys pulled out. You would think early, because they missed like 2 or 3 years of nice solid appreciation, but
Absolutely.
They don't care, because guess what? They come back around now.
Right.
And your point of the 40-year cycle is that we have not yet seen the best opportunities yet.
That's
the next
correct.
Few years. How many years do you think before the opportunity?
I think that window is going to close based on I'm a technician, technical analysis and cycles. I'm looking at 2013 to possibly be the extreme low. But, just going back to your point, Sam Zell, he sold out a whole empire of real estate, not catching the top, but he caught it now. If he was going to do it now, it would be a problem for him. And people need to know that these cycles exist. And, the goal is to make sure you've covered the costs of the property and that you can withstand a little bit more of an economic downturn before it turns. Because when it turns, you're not going to be able to get there because everybody else is going to be chasing it.
Right. Well, that's the key. All right. Good. Stick around. This is Rand on Real Estate, 77 WABC. If you're on the phone, stick around. We're going to get to you as soon as we get back from the break. Our number here is 800-848-WABC. Back in just a moment.